All right, mate.
Hello, Ben. How are you?
I'm not bad. So yourself?
Very good. I was
Hel-
just, I was,
Hello to the millions watching worldwide.
I'm sure they'd say hello back if they could. Um, Fortunately, Instagram Live, it's not like Zoom. You can only hear the two people. Otherwise, it'd be loud and messy, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Me and Rich have just had a little bit of a chat about what we look forward to the most from this talk with you now. And we're very excited. We hope to add some value to both players and coaches and others who might be listening. Should we get started straight away?
Yeah, no, I caught the last bit of you
Yeah.
and Rich. Kind words, guys, kind words.
Of course, they're the only words that we'd say about you publicly. Don't worry.
Thank you.
So
I'm surprised you didn't mention head tennis, though.
no, I'm never going
when
to
you were on
mention
about
head tennis.
No.
Never going to mention head tennis.
Okay, yeah, no, you
No.
kept that bit to yourselves, didn't you? But yeah, crack on, mate.
Even with Norwegian made-up rules to make the coaches win. No, let's not speak about the head tennis.
No.
So instead, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to the Premier League, and especially try to highlight sort of which behaviors or habits helped you where so many others fail? Because there's lots of people in academy systems, but very few actually make it to the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, it's been obviously a long journey going back from the early days just with the academy. I was one of them that got picked up pretty young and went through the ranks at Forest, obviously, and then thankfully got my scholarship at 16 and just loved it. Loved being a full-time footballer, even if it was on 50 quid a week or whatever it was, absolutely skint at the end of the month. But living with all the lads, just walking down the River Trent and training at Home Road, used to absolutely love it. For 2 years, a lot of the lads say it now. It's one of your best times in football, and I think if you're not enjoying it then in the youth team, then you're gonna struggle to have the fight and the durability to last in the professional game. Obviously, you don't know that at the time, but looking back, it's a big help. So I was lucky enough at the back end of my scholarship to get called up for England youth, and then subsequently on the return of playing for the 18s, got offered a 2-year professional contract with Forest, and then stuck around, hung on in there, kept progressing my game, moved forward up the pitch from left back to midfield and started playing a number of positions, and had coaches that believed in me, but I just say I was pretty consistent every day. A big thing looking back now, and something that I still see as a big part of me, is just my enthusiasm. Even sometimes when I'm not feeling it too much, just to get out there and train and do the best that I can every single day. I think that helps, and just perseverance. And when I got the chance to train with the first team and stuff, I'd just keep the same stuff that I'd do in the youth team, and just try and be consistent really, and express myself. And thankfully got given a chance, and yeah, had a good fair few years in the first team at Forest. Lots of different managers, so you could pick up lots of different stuff. It was difficult at times with the chopping and changing, but I think with all that uncertainty, again, I go back to probably just trying to be consistent in my approach every single day. I had good role models coming into the team, likes of Chris Cohen, especially Andy Reid, Eric Lehigh. There was some really good pros about, and I see now how hard they worked. And at the time, they were probably the best players in the team. So I thought that was just a minimum requirement, and sort of adopted their way of thinking, of just trying to, always give yourself the best chance at the weekend. And I think thankfully it stood me in good stead. And then obviously, again, a bit of luck came about with the move to Sheffield United. Chris Wilder obviously took an interest in me. It was a little bit out of the blue. I sort of had a year left at Forest, didn't really know what was going on there, didn't know if they were going to offer me a new deal or I was going to have to look elsewhere. And the club was in a bit of a changing scenario. But yeah, again, thankfully got my chance, and then made my debut in the Premier League last year, which was a lifelong dream. And it was really sweet. It was good to get out there and to make it happen. You get a little Premier League match ball to commemorate your Premier League appearance, which is in my man cave now. It's a special one. Of course. But yeah, I'd say for me it's enthusiasm, consistency. Obviously, you need to be strong mentally, but again, just trying to always improve and seeing every day as a chance to improve. And as I've got older, I think I've mentally got a little bit better as well. I used to be up and down like a yo-yo, depending on what the result or how I played. But now I'm a little bit more level-headed and just try and perform as well as I can on the Saturday. So I hope that's give you a little bit, answered the question a little bit. I wasn't sure how far to go back with that.
No, that was great. I think there's loads that young footballers can take from that message as well. So when you, as a young player, were asked to train with the first team for the first time, or when you were 18, asked to train with the 23s for the first time, what sort of impression do you think you made in those first few sessions you had with them?
Well, when we were at Forest, Billy Davis used to sometimes after a game on the Monday, he'd get all the youth team up. There was only under 18s then, there was no 23s, so it went into reserves. And we'd have like a little round robin. The first team, but some of them will train, some of them wouldn't. Some of them would be aching from the games. And we used to go up, and I used to just be so excited to go up just to try and kind of show what I can do. And you're a bit more comfortable because the rest of the youth team were there, so it's not as if you're by yourself. And I just used to play with freedom, try and take players on, and just try things, try and stand out really, but ultimately just enjoy it. And I might have made a good impression, might not have, but when I finally started training with them, like by myself, when I was about 18, 19, and I used to be like called up from the 23s to go and train, it was really nerve-wracking. But I knew then, sort of knew like my strengths, and I could sort of see a couple of things that I was better than a couple of the first team players at. And sometimes you'd feel way out your depth, but there'd be times in training where you'd feel like you might score a goal or take someone on something. It might just seem tiny at the time, but then you start building in confidence and starting to feel like that you can hold your own with the first team players. And yeah, there were nerve-wracking times, but it was like sometimes you didn't want to leave your age group. You wanted to just stay and be like one of the best players, or if not the best player, and just like enjoy it in training. And then you obviously got called up, then you go from being one of the best players to probably one of the most nervous and not one of the best. So, but it was good. And looking back, yeah, I must have done okay because I ended up staying in and around it.
Yeah, probably. You must have done something right at least.
Yeah,
it's very interesting to hear there, and I'm sure a lot of young players listening will have felt that feeling of nervousness when they progress up and they're asked to train or play with older age groups. And I'm sure it's really encouraging to see that it's not just them feeling like this, but it's also, it's very normal.
Yeah, I think one of the things is as well, sometimes you don't want to, because you've got so much respect for the first team lads when you first go in, it's not as if you don't want to tackle them and that, but yeah, I don't know. You sometimes feel a little bit in back because some of them, if you start nicking the ball off them all the time, they'll be mouthing you and calling you a little busy so and so or whatever, just trying to belittle you. Um, which at the time you probably think like, oh no, I don't want to get on the wrong side of him. But when I see young players come up now, I absolutely love it when they've got like the bit between the teeth and they're just like training their absolute socks off like it's a cup final. Uh, and that's what I tried to do. The more I went up there and just put it all in. And when we have young lads come up now, I try and tell them to do that, and especially if they're on my team and I want to win. But yeah, I think that's something as well. Just you've got to give it all and not really care what they say. And obviously, don't be a complete dickhead. But I mean, work rate wise, just
of course,
don't worry about what anyone says.
I heard a story about Sander Berge from Vålerenga when he came to the club at 16 and was training with the first team as part of his trial to join the club. And in the first training session, he was telling off the captain for doing something bad, and the head coach was looking to the assistant coach saying, I think we need to sign him. So it makes an impression.
I don't know about that. I don't. You can't say boo to a goose for a while unless you're definitely in the right.
Yeah.
You've got to let a few comments slide and just do stuff by your actions. But fair play to Sander, because I would not have done that. But it does probably help when you're 6'9".
It probably does, I'd imagine. He came at 16 and he was already one of the biggest guys. So
yeah.
You've clearly trained with a lot of very good players. Is there anything you can think of that often characterize the best players in each group? Like you mentioned, the way that Reedy or Chris Cohen would train. Is there anything like that in the way that they behave off the pitch or train or prepare for games?
Yeah, I mean, I think majority of the time it is the ones that do train as they play. They want to be out there all the time. They want to play every game. They don't like being rested. And yeah, they drive the standards and they want to win in training as well. I think that's most of the time that's the case. You do get the odd players that don't look as good in training or not really as bothered, and they will still be unbelievable. But I think deep down, there is people want to win, and it is that old cliche of train as you play, which is something that was apparent when I came to Sheffield United. That's what the boys were all about, and you could see like it increases your standards. You get better in training, and you find it a little bit easier on the game day. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the main one.
I'm sure that a lot of young players listening can take something from that, because it's something a lot of young players don't realize before it's too late. In my experience, is that too many very, very good young players train too poorly, and then they look back at it when it's too late and regret it. So there's so much to gain from taking that advice and doing that from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's something didn't fully realise until the last couple of years, really, because you always think that you're training at full tilt, but you know when you are, because when everyone is, and if you're not, then you're going to let your side down in training. So it is a massive thing.
You came through a youth team with several others who've gone on to play at a very high level. What do you think made that group special?
Really good coaches. That helped. I think a lot of us came from a really young age together, and we were really good at like under nines. We used to beat everyone, Arsenal, Chelsea, all the best academies. We used to like batter them anytime they came to Forest for tournaments and stuff. So we obviously had a lot of talent, but really good coaching, and then I mean, yeah, I think the morals and the standards that were driven into us by the way Forest did things. It was very strict. Not going to lie, sometimes maybe a bit too strict at the time, but you were kept humble, you were kept grounded. You're never allowed to get big times, especially in the youth team. You get put right in your place. You'd still be doing all the jobs, black boots, all that stuff. We used to moan like mad, but I don't know. Maybe there's something in that humility, and that you can't get away with anything. You can't cut any corners, and you get taught to work hard. But I think first and foremost we had good coaches, but then I think it wasn't a case of from our youth team that we all sort of went on to do things at the same time. There was different. I think like Jamal and Pat Bamford, they sort of broke into the first team a little bit before. Pat went on to Chelsea. Jamal played in the first team a year and a bit before I did. But I suppose when you see one sort of make it and start playing professional football, that gives you a massive boost and a bit of belief that you can, especially if you've trained with them and you felt like you're on a sort of similar level to them. And there's other lads as well from our age group that have gone on to have careers in the game, even non-league and whatever. So it was a really strong group, and obviously we must have learnt a lot from the years that we had at Forest, and we owe a lot to people there in the club.
That's because it was a very special group when looking back at it.
When looking back, yeah,
there are so many names there who now play at such a high level. But we are running out of time, so we'll move on to the last two questions. Are you aware of the debate going between coaches about the value of isolated practice? So as coaches, we discuss this a lot, but we very rarely hear the input from players. So as a player, youth player, and as the professional you are now, what's your sort of experience with it?
So you're more like your individual one-to-one coaching sort of thing?
No, so team trainings, isolated passing practices, isolated dribbling, just no opposition.
I think I've worked under managers that do a lot of that stuff. One that comes to mind, Warburton at Forest, would do a lot of passing practices, a lot of passing drills, making sure that it's firing in. Dougie Freeman would do similar ones, but he just wanted 100 mile per hour tempo. So I don't know if that was a fitness thing. Me personally, I think it's okay at the start of a session when you're building in and you're practicing the techniques and that. But I think, I think once you get into professional territory, a lot of players already have that kind of that base level skill and the technical ability. Obviously, everyone can always improve and keep getting better, but they already have that. So then it's time to work on other aspects. How are you going to get into these areas? How are you going to affect players around you playing against opposition? So I think when you're younger, it's definitely valuable. But I think once you get into professional game, then there's a few more bits at stake where you need to probably sacrifice them practices a little bit more.
That makes sense. This is a rich, special question. How has music influenced your motivation for football?
Yeah, it's a good question. That I think for me, like my two passions are music and football. They go hand in hand. Always have done. Couldn't choose between them. If I had to get rid of one, it'd be a really difficult decision. Probably would get rid of music because it doesn't pay the bills. But but yeah, it's just hand in hand for me. Just all part of the football culture and everything. Just so yeah, love getting the tunes on before a game, and if we've got a decent playlist in the changing rooms, just seems to go hand in hand. Love all the tunes at the ground as well that are played through the speakers before the game. Better with the fans in, obviously, but still gives you them little butterflies in your stomach.
Good. Do you have a few minutes to do the some listener questions as well?
Yeah.
There's a few ones, if we select a few.
I've seen a few names pop up. Ryan Tinsley.
So
after all these years.
So overall, what would you say is the biggest difference between your time at Forest compared to your time at Sheffield United?
Obviously, it's a lot of it comes down to stability. There's just it. Obviously, Chris Wilder had been there for 2-3 years before I'd even signed, so there was a lot more. People knew what they were doing in terms of on the pitch, but also off the pitch. Everything was like set in stone. Whereas obviously at Forest there was always big turnarounds of players constantly every window, so you wouldn't know what the team's going to look like in 2 months, let alone like next year. Whereas here you kind of have a bit of an idea, or at least you know the way you're going to play. So I think that's the main difference. From a playing point.
Okay. From Ben Leverton, for you, what's the best trait in a manager or coach that best supports you as a player?
I think as a manager, you want honesty, and you want to be able to trust them. And players shouldn't really need it, but not to motivate you, but to kind of what's the word?
Inspire.
Yeah, inspire, but always keep the lads on their toes, sort of thing. Yeah. So, a manager that can get you to run for a brick wall for them. That you're desperate to play for, you're desperate to impress. You might not even have to like them, but if they can have that effect on you, that's a big thing. And in terms of a coach, someone that can set you up for a game and basically tell you what your job is and what he expects of you, what he wants you to do, and maybe gives you a little bit of help on what the opposition are going to do and how we're going to work around it. So just knowing that you're going into a game prepared and with a game plan.
On that note, before we jump to the last question, we had a Q&A today. Would you like to announce the winner?
Yes, the winner of the is it a session, pre-season session?
Yes.
Yeah, the winner is Ben Leverton. I think he's on here, isn't he? So
he did ask.
Well done, mate.
Which is what reminded me on it. We just read his question.
Congratulations, Ben. We'll have a session in pre-season.
Ben, and he's just commented, thanks for that answer. So Ben just message RDA Coaching here on Instagram and we will set something up. Final question.
How old is he?
We don't know. We don't know. We need to find out.
Could be an under 9 running rings around me.
Well, he'll still. Me and Rich, we need help. We can't do it on our own. Maybe now we'll win football tennis.
I don't know about that.
I have to hope. I need to make up some more rules. Final question: who's been the best player you've ever played with, and who's the best player you've ever played against?
It's tough to say with, but I'm going to go for a pretty obvious one. Dean Henderson was pretty special last season, especially. I think he can go on to do whatever he wants and potentially will be England's number 1 for a long, long time. So he's probably just topped a few names. Mikel Antonio was unbelievable at Forest as well, and he's now tearing it up in the Prem. So I think playing against, for me, it's Kyle Walker. I never want to play against him again. He's, especially when I'm playing like left of the midfield. He had a really good game against me. Like, I'm not, obviously there's better players around the pitch, but in terms of who I've been up against and find it tough, he's just so fast, and the way they play is difficult enough. But even if you get past him, he's back at you, and he was really good.
Yeah, I can imagine he can do so many things.
Really well. He scored a 30-yarder against us as well, so that didn't help.
No, probably didn't help. Okay, so Ben answered. He's 23 years old and he does not think he'll be able to run rings around you, but I'm sure he can score some of your crosses.
Yeah,
and, we'll be
looking
happy
forward
with that
to it.
Okay. Yeah. Ben, everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have too.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming on, Ben.
No worries.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.